With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
Good evening and welcome to Richmond for round 3 of the Precision Racing League NASCAR Cup Series. The Sunday edition nonetheless. We're set to go for 200 laps here from Richmond Raceway in Richmond, Virginia. So glad to have you with us here on RaceSpotTV. Jacob Hitz, Joey Tevin with you, and well, this just feels different, doesn't it, Joey? Moving over to a different network, but the two of us reunited back together once again, and we're set to watch the Next Gen's take battle here at Richmond, a track that not really easy in these cars.
It's definitely an adjustment. With the addition of the Next Gen a couple of years ago, it drives exceptionally differently than it did before in the previous generation of Cup cars. A lot of drivers in the field have experience earlier in the week from the Xfinity Series race. A lot of them ran the Truck Series, or a couple of them ran the Truck Series race as well. But Richmond in a Next Gen, as we saw today in the real world, it's a very, very unique challenge. And this is a very unique challenge as well. And I'm looking over to the side here. It's like when you see a teacher outside of school. We're in the wrong place.
Oh, well, it takes
Hitz,
some
you
getting
don't live
used
in the
to.
school?
No, I do not. And there may be, bumps in the road. These things happen. Day one, we'll work it out as time goes along. How this series works, it's pretty simple. They follow the A Open schedule, the official Class A Open schedule. The season started, of course, at Atlanta 2 weeks ago. It's COTA last week. We're at Richmond tonight for 200 laps. We go to Martinsville in 2 weeks. We have off for the holiday. For Easter next week, no Bristol dirt. Talladega comes up then toward the end of April, and Dover. We start out May with Kansas, Darlington, Texas, and Charlotte. So that pretty much follows the Cup schedule. The only real exception in there, the fact you're going to Texas in the middle of May there when the All-Star race would be instead of North Wilkesboro. Take a look at the standings. Matthew Long, he's atop of the points coming into tonight's race. And your winners on the season, well, they don't even appear in the top 10.
Yeah, Matthew Long, the defending champion from last season, won that championship with multiple race wins, was absolutely dominant. He's going about things a little bit differently this season. It's been consistency, a second and a fourth, but that's added up to the championship lead.
No doubt about it. And only 2 races, so obviously there's a long way to go. Let's take a look at how tonight is going to work. As far as, your team standings here, private label Team Hype high atop 10-point lead over SGE Esports Pioneer. And team standings, not something, Joey, that we often think about and look at, but they exist here, and it just adds another level to the competition. Not only do you have the driver's standings to worry about, you've got your team to worry about as well.
And you can tell it's very early days in the season because Dirty South Racing, who Matthew Long drives for, who opening round winner Taylor Stout drives for, they're still not in the lead of the team's championship because they've been a little bit more inconsistent. Stout didn't get a good finish at COTA. Richard Regan Jr., who is here with us tonight, did not race in the first 2 rounds of the season. So Dirty South Racing has a little bit of work to do if they want to live up to their team's championship last season.
No doubt about it. You can see, well, we're in the daylight. We're racing in the day, similar to what we saw earlier today, obviously, with the Cup Series. This first race was famous for being under the lights. Really, both races here at Richmond were back through the early to mid-2000s. And, of course, that's changed around a little bit now. Dayside here. Before we get rolling and get too deep into this, we'll take a minute to thank all of our sponsors. Coverage brought to you by Advanced Sim Racing. Owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. All PRL members also get a 5% discount on ASR products using the Precision5 coupon code. Racebox Sim Racing. Racebox offers mid and high-end button boxes for sim racing enthusiasts, from the casual gamer up to the most meticulous sim racing driver. Competitively priced and carefully handcrafted, our button boxes are an enjoyable addition to any sim racing setup. Visit raceboxsimracing.com and get a 5% discount using the Precision5 coupon code. The Butt Kicker. Butt Kicker products add incredible immersion and realism to every game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. By Mecha Sim Hardware. Mecha Sim Hardware is a small company from Czech Republic, and their goal is to produce high-quality sim racing hardware. If you're looking for high-end pedal sets, handbrake, or sequential shifters, visit Mecha Sim Hardware's eShop right now to get you up to speed. Moradness. Moradness is a performance lifestyle brand motivated by motorsport and founded by professional race car driver Daniel Morad. For more information, visit moradness.com. And by Ninja Trader. Better futures start now. Trade the world's future markets with Ninja Trader. Visit ninjatrader.com to access unlimited free trades simulation. Well, Joey, qualifying is underway here from Richmond. Drivers going out there to set their fastest 2 laps that they can, try and get themselves in a good starting spot for today's race.
Indeed, currently, who else but Mr. Trent Dinkle on pole after winning at COTA last week. His teammate James O'Brien takes up the front row here. This has been kind of a return to form for Trent Dinkle. It's too early to say, but after last season, when he took on the Xfinity Series, when he took on this series, he had an absolutely hellish season in terms of bad luck, in terms of getting into incidents with other drivers. But so far, he's 1 for 1 this season. He missed the opening round, showed up for round 2 at COTA, started on pole, won. Can he keep the streak up? Looks like he is so far.
High atop the board. Now you have to remember, with this series, open setup, not fixed, so these drivers can make any sort of adjustments that they want to with the race cars to try and give themselves the advantage compared to the fixed style of racing where you pretty much get to change the brake bias and maybe the steering pinion in the steering box, and that's it. You can't really change much else. Here, you can do whatever you want. Put air in the tires, take air out of the tires, sway bars, wedge, whatever's in this race car that you can change, you're absolutely free and willing to do so in this series.
Riding on board with Eric Haag here on his first lap. He's electing to kind of ditch this lap and go up high through 3 and 4 to set up one final lap, get a little bit more of a burst of speed across the line here. That's an unrepresentative lap time for him. This is going to be the real one here. Dives it down to the bottom into turn 1. Tries to get as low as possible onto the yellow line. A little bit of a late apex there for a driver who does have a decent amount of road course experience. Remember, he raced in the PRL GT3 series a couple of seasons ago. And off of 3 and 4, this is going to be a legit lap for Eric Haag. What can he do across the line? 22, 145, P5 for Eric Haag. Great lap.
Great stuff from Eric Haag, and that's almost plate-like here at Richmond, using the outside line first as your first lap, whether it's by design or not, to warm up the tires a little bit, get things rolling, and then on that second lap, dive it down to the bottom that real racing line here at Richmond in turns 1 and 2 and in turns 3 and 4 and get you a good lap time. Here you see another car out on the racetrack right now, wrapping things up.
Rafael Rodriguez not using the same strategy as Eric Hogg, but let's see what he can do off of turn 4 here. Wasn't the best lap 1, but he has built up a little bit more speed on lap 2. Still not enough, though. Going to stay P24 out of all the drivers who have qualified here. And I am reminded, because Eric Hogg missed last season, he's back with us here. He's back on pace. It's very good to see. I don't remember if his name is pronounced Eric Hogg or Eric Hag. There was a little bit of a family argument at the end of 2022 Season 4. There were like some aunts in the chat saying it's Eric Hag. There were friends saying it's Eric Hogg. I don't think we ever got finality on that.
Well, we'll find out eventually.
Get the Hag-Hogg family out here. Tell us.
Yep. I feel like that's just about the way it is with every sim broadcast, that there's a name that, well, you may not be 100% sure. You just go with it and see what happens. And if you get corrected, you get corrected. But then at least you know, once you get corrected, what the pronunciation is. All right, so qualifying is done. Let's get to our starting grid here from Richmond Raceway. Trent Dinkle starting on pole in the number 9, trying to go back-to-back from victory lane. Abner Acosta lines up to the outside in row 1. James O'Brien and Joshua Daniels, they make up row number 2. Eric Hogg, as we mentioned, the Pennsylvania native, he starts P5. Robert Busson Jr. rounds out row number 3.
Then it's Skip Gandy and Bruno Mello on row number 4. Richard Regan Jr., who won here in the Xfinity Series on Wednesday night, starts a little bit deeper than he would have liked. He starts alongside Lou Christian. Then Troy Torgerson and Taylor Stout, another Dirty South Racing driver, make up row number 6.
Looking down through, Jeff Winter there on the inside. In the 13th spot, Robert Gamble to the outside. Pat Harvey and Jose Acosta making up 15th and 16th. Jeff Chandler, Jay McDonald rounding out the top 18.
And P19, good old Chad Kibbe and Tristan Callahan as well, 2 new drivers to the series this season. Jose the Funky Cold Medina starts 21st alongside Rodrigo Morales, who moves over from the roadside to take on some NASCAR Cup Series action this season. Then Joe Hoggard, a little bit lower than he would like as well, alongside Rafael Rodriguez in the 80.
25th, Charles Sumner, Eric Starpoli to the outside. Tom Massey there in 27th, Rusty Robinson in the 28th spot, Ken Alland and Richard Pruitt back here rounding out the top 30, your top 15. And Benton Jones, shotgun of the field, 31st in car 88. The field is rolling. We'll get 2 laps until we get the green flag behind the iRacing Pace vehicle. 200 laps. It's a long race, and tires are going to be a factor to an extent.
Yeah, and this is something we saw both in the real-life NASCAR Cup Series race earlier today and that we've been seeing all week in this series, that you can make it pretty far on fuel, 80, 90 laps, but it's going to be the tires that really take that down. And there is a restricted fuel limit in this series, if I do remember correctly, so you're not going to be able to go that far. It's just going to be a little bit of a balancing act. Do you go longer on the fuel and wear the tires, and do you come in a little bit early, take those fresher tires, maybe take an extra stop, but bring down that time because of the extra speed?
4 sets of tires sit on the pit lane for these drivers, and it does not look like there is a fuel limit.
Yeah, you're right, 100%. So 80, 90 laps, that's going to be about expected. But the question is, can you take the tires that long? It's going to be pretty tough to go 90 laps on one set of tires.
It's pretty much what we saw out of the Cup race earlier today, is that even though the fuel mileage lasts that long, you're not going to be staying out there that long. You're going to want some fresh rubber as soon as possible. Trent Dinkle is on the front row with Abner Acosta. We're set to go here from Richmond. Green flag.
Great jump there from Trent Dinkel, as always, from the front row. Actually brings his teammate James O'Brien with him, but it's going to be Abner Acosta who clears him into 3.
Dinkel leads the field back to the start-finish line. Caution is out for a crash off turn 4. That's Jose Acosta that's perpendicular to the field off turn 4. And our first caution flag of the night comes early in this one. A couple more cars involved, I think more or less just trying to avoid the sideways car. We'll get a replay here. Watch the 42.
It's Jose Acosta in the 42 on the outside. Diving it in is the 31, and just a little bit of contact. Nowhere Acosta could really go there. And you see Benton Jones a little bit further back coming onto the scene, but that was Jeff Chandler in the 31 who just absolutely sent it in there. And frankly, just cleaned out Jose Acosta. Nothing really you could say otherwise there. Might be a slam dunk penalty there for next week. Might be disallowed for qualifying if Jose Acosta does elect to protest that. But let's take a look at it again here into turn 3. Chandler's about a mile back. Bonk.
Yeah, it's lap 1 of a 200-lap race, Joey.
Yep. And at the back of the field, sometimes there's checkups like that, and that does give us a reminder that 200 laps is not guaranteed. It's 200 laps or a 90-minute time limit. So if we do get a bunch of yellow, we could have a very different race that ends a little bit early at the 90-minute limit.
And some drivers may have to consider that as well as strategy. If we see a lot of cautions, especially early on in a race, that could dictate whether or not drivers decide to stay out on fuel, change things up as far as tires or with their fuel mileage. So Trent Dinkel got away early on the jump, and he leads this thing. Abner Acosta slid down into second. James O'Brien third. Joshua Daniels fourth. Eric Hogg in the 5th spot. Couple of cars coming onto pit road, and by that I mean 2. One of them Acosta, who is involved in the crash, and Tama Macy here is also on the pit lane in machine 05. He's down and away from his box, though, and we should get the 1 to green this time around.
Jose Acosta, that's going to be really confusing for us this season, because for the last 3 years of the PRL, it's been Abner Acosta and Abner Acosta alone. But this season, Jose Acosta elects to join us. I don't actually know if he's related to Abner. We haven't actually got that information. I imagine they are, because they have they're from similar parts of the world, but I don't know. We're going to have to get confirmation of that to see if it is an Acosta family affair this season.
Well, those common last names, you know.
Yeah. And look at Trent Dinkel.
Regionally, but
Trent Dinkel's actually done some decoration at the back. It's not a blank white wall anymore, and he's got a cat decoration too. Trent is really sprucing up the place.
Just the way he drew it up, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Are you making fun of me for my blank white wall behind me?
Yes, absolutely. I made fun of Trent for that for so long, and he's finally come good.
We're working on things. Nonetheless, here comes Dinkel and Acosta into the restart zone. We're back to racing. 5 laps complete when they cross the start-finish line and retake the green flag. Here comes O'Brien to the inside for second.
It's just so hard to restart on the outside here. The leader can get such a great jump and usually allow the driver who starts third to get a better restart than the driver who starts second, but there's contact in the back.
Yep, 1 car around. It's Rodrigo Morales. And the caution flag's out for the second time. 2 early cautions. This one coming off turn number 2. It was fine and dandy up front, but it's in the back where the contact.
That's Charles Sumner behind him. I hope Charles Sumner wasn't involved, the lead organizer of this series. That would be unfortunate there. But off at turn 2, it was Charles who gets into Rodrigo. I don't know if Rodrigo was just a little bit too slow on exit there, or Charles wasn't expecting the closing rate. We might have to take another look at the angle there, but poor old Charles Sumner goes for a bulldozer move.
Almost wonder if maybe Morales got tight, just being too high, coming up off the corner, and Sumner was not ready for it. Nonetheless, contact. Great job by Morales, though, to keep it down there and not come back up into Benton Jones. And that 88 who was just trying to clear out of harm's way. So Trent Dinkel remains your leader. He's led every lap so far. We still have yet to complete a lap really under green. It's been Caution City so far.
And that's going to be a very interesting situation. If Rodrigo Morales elects to protest that move to the league management, normally it's Charles Sumner who investigates the incidents on the roadside and gives out penalties. So we're going to have to figure out who's second in command there. They actually have a second in command on the roadside. They're used to this, but I don't know who takes over these investigations now. Maybe it's Nick Hunter.
We'll have to see. We'll find out. Maybe it's us.
It might be. I mean, we're always giving out our own judgments anyway. We might as well make them matter.
Right. Well, I don't know about that. You know, we try to be as even keel as we can up here. You know, so sometimes, you know, it gets the best of us, and there can be biases shown. Been there, done that. But at least for me, for somebody that, you know, dropped into the deep end of the pool, I feel like, you know, we can look at that and say, okay, this guy did this guy did this. Here's what happened.
Yeah, Jake is he's like a special counsel here. He's got no allegiances. He's got no biases. Maybe we should make you the person who decides the penalties. Mark Kalin, Bradley Holly, get them out of here. I want to get Jake in race control there. Take him to the PRL Hall.
Yeah, that's it. Well, you know, not necessarily the best at race control. There's a reason that I'm up here and not in the tower across the way or on the racetrack. That's the other key part. Nonetheless, we're doubled up, getting set to go for the restart. Dinkel once again leading this field. Acosta is still second. He was able to hold off O'Brien. They were stuck side by side there for a while, but nonetheless, Acosta able to prevail. And he will restart once again, first on the outside line. Dinkel gets reminded that got to go in the restart zone, which is pretty much right at the exit of turn 4. It comes up on you quick because the start-finish line comes up on you quick. It's not in the middle of the front straightaway. It's closer to turn 4. Green flag. We're back to racing.
Another very well-timed restart by Trent Dinkel, but look at this action here on row number 2. James O'Brien consistently gets a better restart than Acosta, but I think there's a little bit of teamwork here. He checks up just a little bit to let second place Acosta through, but in the process, he's letting Josh Daniels get to his inside. He wanted to preserve a private label team hype 1, 2, 3, but he might have just put himself in danger of losing third.
Here comes Daniels to the inside, side by side behind as well. Ag to the inside, Gandy up top. Richard Reagan Jr. down on the bottom. Will give that third spot to Daniels. O'Brien now under the gun from Hogg, and here he goes to the inside, still side by side for position number 4.
Now that I think about it, it may have actually been Haig, so there's 3 possibilities here. We'll see if we hear from his family in the chat tonight, but either way, he does get to the inside of James O'Brien, and O'Brien's still just stuck on the high side. You can make that work at times if you're on fresher tires, if you're comparatively faster, but you don't want to be stuck up there.
It's not now in the run where that outside line starts to roll. It's later on in the run. Tires start to wear. If you've got a tire advantage, you'll want to jump up to the outside line. Your top 10 more than that. Your top 12 single file. First side-by-side battle between Robert Gamble and Robert Basal back here for the 13th position. Gamble in the 48, Basal in the 3.
Battle of the Roberts. It seems like these guys always find each other on track, which makes it slightly confusing for us. But Gamble on the outside, Basal on the inside. The outside might not necessarily be the place you want to be right now early on in the run, but Robert Gamble is always one to take a gamble, and he's doing pretty well sticking with Basal, but he's not doing so well at clearing.
Up the road, James O'Brien continues the skid backward. To the inside is Reagan. He'll go by without any issue, and now Lou Christian to the inside of car 33, trying to move that Chevy Camaro out of the top 10, or at least get him closer to that spot.
Lou Christian has just been improving with every single season. Last season was really his breakout season, but he still didn't get that win on the board that he so desperately wants. He's still waiting for that first win in the PRL. Could come today as he clears James O'Brien. He's been driving forward, as has Richard Regan Jr., but still quite a few cars to go up the road, and the fall has not ended for James O'Brien. He can't get down to the bottom for more than about a lap, and Skip Gandy's going to swallow him up now.
Just when he thought he had room to get to the bottom of the racetrack, bye-bye. Here comes Gandy to the inside. Richard Pruitt, by the way, he has parked the car. He is done for the night, and it's this group that's really kind of holding back. The folks out in front of these guys pulling away. The side-by-side battle holding back everybody behind Gandy and O'Brien.
We got a new addition to the camera brigade here in Bruno Mello, new driver for this season, and as soon as he joins the series, he turns his camera on. So that's what we like to see. We got to see everybody on cameras here. We got to improve that population. But Bruno Mello has really made his mark on the series. Had a great round one, finished second on the road course at round two, where he was very comfortable, running solidly in the top 10 right now. Almost got into the back of James O'Brien in turn three, but it's being aggressive early on.
And not quite so mellow for driver 78. I thought for sure that you were going to take advantage of that one there.
I didn't even think of that. The only thing I was thinking of was former IndyCar driver Zachary Clayman DeMello. That's my references are all out of whack.
Well, I mean, you know, I know you come from that side of things, so it makes sense that comes to mind first.
I'll wheel out the Stout references once Taylor Stout decides to put himself on the scene, because he's slowly crawling forward. Had a disappointing qualifying into P11 right now. He's got only one more car ahead of him in Troy Torgerson. Taylor Stout, you can barely see in the back of your screen there in the middle of the train, one of the biggest movers.
Been pretty stout so far, at least under green. Started 12th, he sits P11, and he's, as you mentioned, caught in this choo-choo train behind James O'Brien. Now, I wonder here, Joey, if perhaps O'Brien is trying to flip things around a little bit instead of pushing and digging on this, well, I guess we can call it a green flag run now. He's saving his tires, waiting for a longer green flag run, so that way, as the tires age of the folks in front of him, he can start picking them off one by one again.
That would be a very private label team hype driver thing to do. We call Abner Acosta the tire wizard. We call Trent Dingle the tire apprentice, who's almost beaten the Masters. So we'll see all of them try and work that out a little bit later as they're arguing over about 20th place here. That's Eric Staropoli, who's very much stuck on the high side, almost gotten the wall off of turn two, and the bleeding has not stopped. Here comes Rafael Rodriguez to the inside. Can Staropoli finally get down to the bottom? No, he can't. The train's still there.
Still stuck side by side, mid-pack. You see Sumner right behind as well in that 98. The Tropicana colors on board that Chevrolet. And here he'll go now to the inside and try and take yet another spot away, but Starpoli on the outside line, gonna hold on, maybe. A little loose behind him, though.
That was
sorted out.
That was Ken Holland. Got a little bit loose off of turn two. That scared me a little bit. I was getting flashbacks to the last caution, but it was a good save for Ken Holland. Gonna fall basically in the back of this train, though, is Jose the Funky Cole Medina still holding tough on the bottom. Staropoli misses the corner, and Rodriguez misses the corner as well. It's gonna be 2 free spots for Medina if he can stick it in here.
The Funky Cole Medina. I love
Jose
it.
the Funky Cole Medina. You're getting introduced to all the PRL nicknames this week.
Oh, I love it. Can you tell we have fun with what we do?
Nah, no fun at all.
Right.
It doesn't look like
Go
much
back
fun
here.
here at the back of the pack, by the way, because it's early on in the run. We haven't had a very long run at all. It's only been about 18 laps since that yellow ended, but you can already tell some people are using up those tires early.
Well, and you also have to keep in mind, if you're back here in the pack, you're going to be racing a little more aggressive. We're at a short track. Obviously, there are only 30 cars on the racetrack, but still, that opens up the window where it doesn't take very long. You see the track conditions, track temperature around 110, 111 degrees, dynamic skies, so that'll shift as clouds come in and out. But if you're at the back of the field, you got to worry about the leader coming up on you, especially the longer we get into a green flag run.
That's going to happen very, very soon. You see Tom Amasi at the back of the field, 15 seconds off of Trent Dingle. Lap times around here only about 23 seconds, so give it maybe 20, 30 more laps, and they are going to have to start thinking about lap traffic up front. But basically, if you're back here, if you're already struggling on the tires, if you're already at the back of the field, you're starting to think about strategy right now, because it is a very uphill battle coming up for the next 170 laps. You're going to have to think strategy. You're not just going to be able to recover this by doing the same old things. You're going to have to think, how can I save more on the second stint? How can I start to move my way forward? And maybe am I going to have to hope for a yellow here to save my race?
Side-by-side battle for position 9. Bruno Mello And Troy Torgerson. E9, this is right behind James O'Brien, who has stopped the bleeding for now. Taylor Stout, Pat Harvey, they're both behind this battle as well. Mello sorts it out for now, holding on to his position. But I think we may see a comeback here from Torgerson before too long.
Torgerson, another one of those new drivers to the PRL. So if you're somebody like Taylor Stout or Pat Harvey, who has a ton of PRL experience, it's a little bit of an unknown here. You don't necessarily know how Troy Torgerson races. You don't know how Bruno Mello races. You don't know if they're going to be aggressive, if they're going to give you room. You're basically learning on the fly here as Torgerson does miss the bottom a little bit into turn one there. Stout is putting the pressure on, and he's about to learn even more about Troy Torgerson soon.
The heat is on, just 33 laps into this race here. This time by, still a long way to go. We're not even a quarter of a way through this race. 200 laps on the big board. The ride on board as the field makes their way here off of turn 2. With Torgerson.
Looks very, very calm, collected. I mean, he did miss the bottom a little bit earlier, but other than that, not many mistakes out of Troy Torgerson. Into turn one this time, a little bit high. See if he can get it down to the bottom, though. Does manage to get it down to the bottom. A little bit of a late apex there, road course style. So, driver out of Colorado, certainly putting the pressure on Bruno Mello here, but it is just kind of train mode now. This is one of the things you expect from Richmond is everybody's on a very different strategy here. A lot of people are trying to save tires because they know we're going for a very long run here, most likely. You're not going to see people getting that aggressive right now. It's not the most exciting thing to watch when you're a driver, but it's going to pay off later on in the run.
No doubt about it. Hello to the back bumper. That 33 of O'Brien again. Can't quite get there. And this really is the only close battle on the racetrack. Everybody has sorted it out, at least for now. But once again, it looks like O'Brien is the cork in the bottle here, with the folks behind him trying to get by, and the 33 protecting that inside line, defensive line, and is holding down the fort in P8.
And as I was mentioning before, James O'Brien is definitely a driver who excels on the long runs. He tends to be very, very good at saving those tires. But the problem is in the PRL nowadays is the level of the series has gotten better and better with every season. This Cup Series field is potentially the best Cup Series field we've ever had. You can be great at saving tires, but unfortunately for you, look who's ahead of you. Who else is great at saving tires? Lou Christian, Josh Daniels, Richard Regan, Abner Acosta, Trent Dinkle, Eric Hogg. It's one thing to be good. It's another thing to be better than everybody else who's also going to be very good over the course of the long run.
One thing to be good, another thing to be great. And that's what some of those guys are at trying to save rubber, whether it's virtual or real life. Pat Harvey just made a pass, got by Taylor Stout. That was for the 11th spot, just behind this group. They have sorted it out for the time being. Dinkle out in front by about 0.4 of a second over Abner Acosta. Almost a full second back to Eric Hogg. Richard Regan is fourth. Josh Daniels is in fifth. Again, we're looking at the closest pack of cars on the racetrack. Still a long way to go. Close to the quarter mark as contact and around goes Torgerson.
Is he going to save it? Oh, I thought he was going to save it, but got stuck on the wall there. Pat Harvey, I was just about to compliment him for being a hard charger. He was moving his way forward. He said, now's the time to start moving. And unfortunately, gets into the back of Troy Torgerson.
It's our third caution flag of the night. This one coming on lap 41. Here's the replay. Just drives it in a little too deep. Torgerson trying to do what you talked about earlier, that road course style. Turn down on exit. And unfortunately for him, Harvey on the back door gives him a tap, and around he goes. On board with Stout, who's right behind this trouble.
I think we're about to see some great avoidance here out of Taylor Stout as Harvey the Wonder Hamster does bite Troy Torgerson. Stout sees it going on, goes high, almost gets into the wall on exit, but very, very heads up there from Taylor Stout.
Pit stops for the first time for your race leaders. Nobody really bold enough to stay out here and it makes sense. We're on pace that we'll hit the 200 lap mark with ease before time runs out, but the drivers, I think, across the board, they want tires. They're looking for rubber.
It's going to be some much-needed respite here, and this is going to be interesting. Can Abner Acosta beat his teammate off of pit road here? No, he cannot. Basically dead even there. But that's much better than Abner Acosta's last critical pit stop at Richmond. On Wednesday night, he was a little bit distracted. They dropped the car, and he sat in his box for a good 2 seconds before he got going, and that's actually what lost him the Xfinity Series race on Wednesday night. But Abner's paying attention tonight. He's on the ball, and he'll get to restart to the outside of his teammate for the 4th time tonight.
Your biggest loser there, Joshua Daniels, went on to pit road in 3rd, comes out 5th. He did not have a good pit stop there. You see Benton Jones, he just came onto pit road. I believe he got the wave around or free pass or something to that effect. He stayed out, now he pits, so he'll be at the back of the field for our next restart. That means everybody has come on to pit road. Tom Macy, I believe, fell a lap down. He has yet to pit based off of our timing and scoring here. So 43 laps are complete here from Richmond. Trent Dinkle remaining the race leader with roughly 3/4 of the way to go.
There's a couple of lap cars coming down here, so they're going to be stuck a lap down. Robeson, Amacy. Chandler has some damage, by the way, that he's getting repaired. If you remember a little bit earlier when he went for that dive on whoever that was. Now, it was so long ago, I don't remember, but he got damaged there. Still in the pits, getting 1 minute and 20 of repairs. He's finally back out there, but he'll be stuck a lap down. He's going to hope we get 3 more cautions and 3 more lucky dogs.
That's what he's hoping. And it could happen. We'll see.
It's not what we're hoping, but it's definitely what he's hoping for.
Right.
But we had a decent run there. It was only about 30 laps, but it was a solid long run. We started to see the tires go off. Hopefully we get a little bit of a longer run here, because you know that every time Abner Acosta and Trent Dinkle are at the front of the field, it is an all-out war of tire saving. They're so equal in terms of tire saving ability. They're so equal on pace that every time these two private label team hype teammates find each other at the front of the field, it is a titanic battle.
That it is. We're doubled up here, set to go for the restart. We'll double them up and get set to go. Trey Dinkle has been the top of the field since the drop of the green flag. However, he does not have the fastest lap of the race. That belongs to Joshua Daniel, 22.4. The fastest lap of the race by almost 2/10 over the rest of the field. Doubled up, back to the restart zone. Green flag with 46 laps complete. We're almost 1/4 of the way there. Dinkle on the gas, and he is gone. Richard Reagan pulls to the inside in front of Joshua Daniels, side by side for second. Hogg on the inside, Acosta trying to rim ride up on the outside.
And Eric has no reason to back out of this. Remember on those previous restarts, it was Acosta's teammate James O'Brien who was starting on the inside. He let him go a little bit. Eric is going to try his best to stick to the inside of Acosta. He's going to get some help from Richard Regan Jr. as well. A little bit of a bump. He's going to stick with him here down the front straight. Going to go for a dive into turn 1, but Acosta's clear.
Benton Jones back on the pit lane in the back of the pack. Believe he had a penalty that he had to serve, and he does. So he's clearing that black flag right now. Meanwhile, still stuck on the outside line is Reagan. He'll fall in line in front of the 77. Daniels peeks to the inside, but a little too far back to be firing it down into the corner. He'll hold on to position 4.
Couple of drivers still stuck on the outside. We've mostly gone single file all the way back to Rafael Rodriguez, or Jose Acosta there rather, but Jose Medina stuck on the outside. Charles Sumner not necessarily stuck on the outside, but just trying deliberately to make the outside work. I don't think that's necessarily the place to be, as Medina should be able to clear down here ahead of Jay McDonald and basically make a train mode all the way back to P20.
Here comes Alon to the inside, looking under Sumner, but Sumner drives it in pretty deep and is able to get away from that. And it is nose to tail sitting the whole way through the field. Single file across the board, and sometimes, Joey, that's the part of racing, especially at short tracks. You want to whittle some time down. What's the best way to do it? Ride, get some laps under green. Sometimes that means you're not going to be passing necessarily, or you just have to catch the guy in front of you by the time you get to the corner.
Riding in single file is not the most fun thing to do. You definitely do want to get aggressive, but it'll be much more fun when it pays off at the end of the run. Some drivers, though, not content to ride. They want track position when they can get it. Once again, it's Robert Gamble to the inside of Robert Besaw Jr. Can't separate these two from each other. And you can see the effect that this is having as they fight side by side for P12. Old Joe Hoggard, who's driven his way up to P11, is extending and extending and extending. These guys are holding back the second part of this train.
Yeah, it's Jeff Winter on back here that are eager to get by these guys, but they don't want to make it 3 wide, at least not yet. We're past the quarter distance. Here from Richmond, and I think Besaw's just going to let it go here. He drops in behind Gamble. Side by side now behind between Stout and Winter. Some contact off turn 2.
Just a little bit of rubbing. No harm, no foul there. Not going to be any damage that comes from that, but Jeff Winter definitely left some room up to the wall there. Taylor Stout gets by either way. And look who's behind there. Jose Acosta, the driver who brought out that first caution after getting a little bit of help from Jeff Chandler. Didn't actually get any damage from it, and he's been doing a great job of driving his way back through the field up into P16. A little bit high on entry into turn 3, and he's moving his way forward. It's a great recovery drive so far for Jose.
Straight. Torgerson there to the inside of Tristan Callahan. Torgerson trying to make his way back up to the front after the contact that brought out the most recent caution where he went around.
I'm still thinking about what all these drivers at the back of the field are thinking right now, because there's a lot of guys who are still stuck back here. Jose Medina hasn't been able to move forward. Ken Allen hasn't been able to move forward. With about 150 laps left to go, that's pretty safe. One stop to the end if you're thinking about fuel. But the question is, are you just going to go one stop to the end and take those tires 75 laps in a stint? Or are you thinking maybe I split the rest of this race up and take 2 stops, get those fresher tires on, and maybe that might be the way to go. But it all depends on if the cautions fly. If we get a long green flag run, it's another thing, but if we get more cautions, strategy is going to be much, much easier.
Well, and I'm thinking, too, Joey, I wonder how many of these guys are banking on a caution compared to banking on a green flag run. Just the nature of it being a short track, these cars hard to drive. I wonder if maybe that's crossed the mind of some or most of these drivers. As trouble for Tristan Callahan. He has disappeared from the racing surface. So hopefully, and he's back. Ta-da. And now he's crashing.
Oh, dear.
Turn 4, caution.
That's an anomaly.
I tell you what, nobody could see where he was at, and as a result, I think folks literally drove through him, and that spun him to the inside wall in the back straightaway.
Yeah, that was exactly what I was theorizing here. You're not going to be able to see him, but as soon as he pops back in, he's out of control. It would have been somebody who got into him, but I don't even know if the person who got into him knows that they got into him.
I'm thinking it was Jose Medina, the 24. I think that was the first car that was there once Callahan appeared. We'll ride on board, see if we learn anything here.
I think he's ahead of Callahan here, so it would be a little bit further back, but as soon as Callahan appears, there's basically nobody around him. It might have been Ken Allen who was behind. Sumner was behind as well. McDonald is coming down pit road right now, so if any of those 2 drivers have damage, that might be why. But suddenly the strategy becomes even more interesting here, because now it's 140 laps to go to the end if we do make every lap on time. That's 270 lap stints. It's starting to get into more reasonable territory. It's still a very, very long run. But if you're Trent Dinkel or Abner Acosta right now, you're probably trying to save some of those sets of tires because we've already used 2 of them. like there's a couple takers, though. Beesaw's in, Kibby is in, and they are the only two. Everybody else knows there's a long way to go, and there's only a certain amount of tire sets left. But Beesaw and Kibby, they want to use them early.
Yeah, so they get everything sorted coming to pit road, and we still think, I think, based off of basically our statistician, if you will, our extra pair of eyes, Nick Hunter, that he says he thinks it was Medina that got into the back of Callahan and turned him around. But I find it interesting, though, that it didn't look like there was any damage on the car of Medina. So, I would thought if he would have hit Callahan, there would have at least been some damage on the front end of that car.
Well, if you crash into a ghost, do you get damage? Is that too philosophical of a question for this series?
Well,
gonna have to call the Long Island medium. I think that's the first Long Island medium reference in PRL history. So Jose Medina, I hope you're happy, and we'll get. I don't even remember her name at this point. I probably should.
"63 laps are complete here when we hit the start-finish line. Still not halfway. Just a little past the quarter distance. We got the caution pretty much right before the quarter mark. And now this our fourth caution flag of the race. Trent Dinkle, though, he has led every single lap so far in that number 9. Abner Acosta has been second place almost since the drop of the green flag. He's had a little bit of pressure at times, both from Josh Daniels and from Chris Hogg, but he's been able to keep that car number 5 in the front. Now, I only just realized this now. This front row is the reverse order of the front row from the Cup race at the end.
Yep.
With Kyle Larson and Josh Berry filling in for Chase Elliott. Well, how about that? Well, Dinkle and Acosta lead us back down. Green flag, a rough start from Hogg there on the inside line. Top 2 break away. The battle's for third.
Yeah, the 89 on the inside just got absolutely caught napping there. That might have been orchestrated between Trent Dinkle and Abner Acosta, as they are teammates. I don't know if they're back to being in the same Discord as each other during the race, but they may have coordinated that to easily swallow up Eric Hogg there. Look at Richard Regan Jr. on the outside as well, using up some of that tire life early to be able to clear Eric, and there he goes into third. This is an interesting combination now. Eric Hogg has fallen, and it's sort of the big 3 in this series. With Dinkle, Acosta, and Regan, all of our most recent champions, they've all made their way into the top 3.
On the back straightaway, and Hogg may not be done yet as far as losing spots. Daniels and O'Brien all over the back bumper. Here comes Skip Gandy to the inside of Bruno Mello. And trying to make this work. Rather, that's Luke Christian. Mello is behind them. Now side by side with Christian, as he is struggling to find any sort of room up on the outside of the racetrack.
Lou is going to be stuck up there. He's lucky he has a teammate behind him in Pat Harvey there. The 2 Bowen-sponsored entries are not going to be fighting with each other here. Harvey's just trying to stay back to let Lou get down to the bottom, but Lou Christian is just blocked in there by Bruno Mello. Pat Harvey finally gets the chance to let him in, and that's some very, very good teammate work there between the 2 SGE Esports drivers. Pat Harvey being very, very kind to his teammate.
They will sort it out. Still a long way to go here from Richmond in round 3 of the second season in 2023. Trent Dinkle continues to scoot away at single file all the way back to the 19th position with Jay McDonald and Ken Alon side by side. And it looks like McDonald will take the spot. Now here comes Kibby to the inside.
Chad Kibby, I believe, is on fresh tires. Yes, he did. Robert Beesaw didn't take tires. He only took fuel when he came in under that last caution. But Kibby did take tires, so look at him slicing and dicing his way forward. Made it look very, very easy on Ken Holland there. Chad Kibby he's not running that much faster than the rest of the field, but that's because he's in traffic. You can see visibly there the closing rate of those fresh tires. Chad Kibby's going to be decimating these guys in the middle of the field.
And McDonald, who's right in front, he also just took fuel, no tires, for car 35. pretty evenly spaced out throughout the whole field. There's a battle for 25th. Morales and Callahan wrestling for it. Of course, Callahan involved in that most recent caution. Hopefully the internet woes have been fixed. And as soon as I mention it, Morales gets on the binders and tries to back out of the battle. And here comes now Chandler to the inside.
And two drivers who have gotten into their own little bits of trouble today. Chandler's been the punter. Rodrigo Morales has been the puntee. And I think both of them have elected, you know what, it's probably not the best thing in the world for us to run side by side. Let's sort this out. And Rodrigo Morales backs out of that, goes to the back of the train. Maybe values his own survival for the moment right now.
Side by side, little up the road. This is McDonald and Staropoli. We've got Medina and Torgerson right up the road as well. So two battles pretty close to each other back here in the back half of the top 20.
Yeah, this has been really the action spot in this field, as there's a little bit of contact with the outside wall for Staropoli. He's been very, very high there over the course of the race, and he's finally got into the wall. Got very, very high through turn 3 as well. I think just trying to let the rest of the field go through and not check people up, but very, very high through the final couple of corners. Finally gets back in line. I don't think he has any damage, but Staropoli has been playing without that outside wall more than anybody else, and he loses it down the back straight.
Can he keep it off the inside wall? No, we stay green. But now damage on the left side to match maybe damage on the right side, and he'll bring that 7 Ford onto pit road. A replay here of Staropoli, as that was not a pretty lap.
Yeah, hit the wall into turn 2, got very high through 3 and 4, and the second he's back around at turn 2, I think he was trying to be a little bit conservative to not get as high as he was, but he put a little bit too much wheel into it, got loose, and spent the entirety of the back straight trying to save it. Got into the wall just barely, though, and that's going to be the end of his night. I don't think he's inclined to go any further. He's already disconnected.
Yep, he's packed it on up and going home. He will finish in the 30th position here, as Benton Jones has to pass him again. Closing in on the halfway point here from Richmond. It's been the Trent Dinkle show out in front. A lot of good battles throughout the field. As side by side, Jeff Winter, Robert Gamble for the moment. That was 14th. That's pretty much over, but now here comes Torgerson to the inside, and at 39.
Like I said, the middle of the field here. This is where it's all kicking off. Torgerson now to the inside of Winter. Fairly straightforward there, down to the bottom. Torgerson is painting the yellow line there, but it's a little bit of a run for Robert Gamble now to the outside. Very, very similarly paint-schemed cars there. Still early in the season. We're still trying to differentiate everybody here, but Torgerson is going to be able to make that move now into turn 1. A little bit later on the brakes, and he has got P15 there, but here comes Bruno Mello and Skip Gandy for the moment.
Tell you what, they got bottled up coming through turn 2. Gamble gave a shot to the back of Torgerson, about the same place where he went around before. Gamble almost takes another shot at the back of the 39, misses that time, and here comes Kibbe to the inside going toward turn 1. You see, battling's too good. Sorry.
There's too much to watch here. It's a good problem.
Too much going on.
But here comes Lou Christian to the inside of Bruno Mello. I believe we have Lou Christian on Zoom here. I don't think we're going to see much of an expression there because he's always pretty cool, calm, and collected. But that was a nice move on Bruno Mello there. He was getting held up. He was getting checked up. He knows he should be a little bit higher here, and he sent it into turn 3.
He sorts it out.
There's Lou Christian over to the right there. We saw Bruno Mello earlier tonight, but Jake, you're finally getting introduced to the 5th member of the PRL NASCAR Cup Series broadcast team. Behind Lou Christian, it's the world's shortest staircase.
Oh my gosh. You ain't kidding. Wow. 2 steps, I think?
1 step.
Oh yeah, you're right. Wow.
I'm so disappointed I wasn't in the booth for the first 2 races of this season. I haven't got to see the world's shortest staircase until now, and I am so happy it's back.
That is a hazard. If you're not prepared for it to be there, you're going down.
If Lou does win his first race tonight, I think we might have to ask him if he's ever fallen down there.
Battle for third. Eric Hogg has some pressure. Regan is on the back bumper.
Yeah, this is interesting because Regan was right with Acosta and Dinkel. We called him Richmond Regan Jr. on Wednesday night because he was so strong here, but he did tell us after the race that he's normally not that strong at Richmond. He didn't really know what happened. He surprised himself a little bit, but he was doing a great job sticking with Dinkel and Acosta. We take a look at his room as well. Not quite as blank anymore. He was another guy who always had a very blank background, but he's put some of his iRacing successes in the background. There's a PRL Truck Series Championship poster back there, an iRacing Daytona 24 win poster back there. He's starting to decorate a little bit. Good for him.
Sorting it out, but he's gotten awfully loose the last couple of laps coming off turns 2 and 4. You saw something similar there out of, that was James O'Brien, I think, that had a similar moment. This is the battle right now between Hoggard and Gandy. This is 10th and 11th.
Joe Hoggard's done a great job so far today. Had a very disappointing qualifying in 23rd. That's kind of what we would have expected from Joe Hoggard in his first couple of seasons in the PRL NASCAR Cup Series. He struggled on the short tracks at times, but over the course of his experiences, he's been great on every single style of track, not just the super speedways and the intermediates anymore. So great to see him in the top 10, and great to see even more battling here in the middle of the pack. They can't stay off of each other. It's back to single file for the moment, but Charles Sumner just got by Jeff Winter, and he's intent to continue moving forward.
Going to have to keep this in mind here as well with the length of this green flag run. The leaders are approaching lap traffic. Benton Jones, Rusty Robinson, Tom Macy are within the sights of your race leader, Trent Dinkel, and Abner Acosta, who has held pretty well with Dinkel here. That last lap, they were about even as far as lap time. This is the closest Acosta has consistently been so far.
Yeah, I was hyping this rivalry up for a reason. It was a shame last season with the amount of bad luck that Trent Dinkel had. We didn't get to see the usual battles between him and Acosta, but I am so happy to see these two back together here fighting for race wins. Trent was the champion in 2022 Season 4, beat Abner to the championship, and it's going to be very, very interesting to see this battle develop here. If we do get a long run, lap traffic is going to be pretty straightforward here. Not going to be too much trouble getting by the 30 there, or the 20 of Rusty Robeson. That's going to be easy goings, but soon they're going to reach people who want to stay on the lead lap and aren't 2 laps down like Rusty.
And they're going to be battling for position as well, not just, oh, by the way, I'm on the lead lap still. There's positions on the line throughout. Up the hill goes Regan, and Josh Daniels will capitalize, and he's got more company. Here comes Mello to the inside.
I think we might have to retire Richmond Regan Jr. because this is not going quite as well as Wednesday night did here. Mello to the inside. He's going to be clear before they even get on the brakes into turn 1. Regan is all sorts of loose here. That Dirty South Racing setup, maybe not as strong as it normally is. You see him get a huge moment off of turn 2 as well. He is not comfortable. And at a place like Richmond, you tend to get in an endless cycle of overheating here. There's so little in terms of respite. There's so little in terms of straight. If you're starting to overheat those tires, you've got almost no time to cool them down. You're almost constantly turning.
It's like a smaller scale version of Chicagoland, except this track, I think, a little bit nicer on tires compared to the rough surface that is Chicagoland.
And Iowa as well is very, very similar to where you're always turning. There's a little bit of banking. It does tend to be a little bit less abrasive, but at short tracks like this, you've got to be good at your tire management. Richard Regan Jr. normally is, but it's just getting a little bit out of the groove here.
This time by will be 5 laps away from halfway. Battle for 13th. Chad Kibbe and Taylor Stout side by side. And as soon as I bring it up, Kibbe is clear, but here comes Tortoise into the inside of car 66.
There's those fresh tires for Kibbe still paying off for him, still working out. He's going to dive into the inside of Gandy here, and Stout in the gold entry is going to be able to hold off Torgerson. Kibbe and Gandy side by side down the back straight. I don't think it's going to be much of a battle here with those fresh tires for Kibbe. Just like the Jordan logo on his hood. That was a slam dunk there. That was easy.
It was. Lap car right in the way. Gandy starting to slip back through the field. Those tires starting to show their age. Biggest mover of the race, by the way, in case you're wondering. Car number 64, Joe Hoggard. Started 23rd tonight. He is up to the 10th position, plus 13. The biggest loser in the same regard, Robert Broussard Jr. started 6th. He has slid well down the order. He's back in 18th, and he continues to fall backward. There you see Regan again in trouble. That's Christian Harvey now to the inside, and that'll drop kick him back toward Hoggard, who's in 10th.
Now, speaking of continuing to fall backwards, Richard Regan Jr. just cannot find any respite whatsoever here. Joe Hoggard behind him, his old sparring partner. I think they got into each other at one point last season. Regan is not going to be happy getting passed by him. Benton Jones kind of getting in the way, in the process of getting out of the way there. But there's about 100 laps to go now. Is Richard Regan Jr. going to think right now, can I come down pit road and maybe go 50 and 50 to the end to try and make up some time here? I don't think he's inclined to do that, because if you pit here, if you're in Richard Regan Jr.'s position, you might go 2 laps down. If we get a caution, you're even more screwed than you are right now.
Jay McDonald heads to the pit lane. He's back in 25th.
So he's going for the risk.
1 lap down. Yep, and he pits right at halfway, even though he is now no longer on the lead lap. So Trent Dinkle leads at the halfway point. He has led every lap thus far. He currently sits in position number 1. Acosta is second, 6/10 back. More than a second back from them, almost 2 seconds back from Dinkle is Hogg. Daniels is 4th, Mello 5th, O'Brien, Christian, Harvey, Regan, Hoggard. Your top 10. How about a battle for 14th and for 16th? Gandy and Stout, and then you got Sumner and Basaw right behind.
This is quite the hornet's nest here. Sumner very, very high through 1 and 2. I don't think he intended to get that high, and he's going to pay the price for it as there goes to the inside. Mr. Jeff Winter going to be easily clear there. Fades up a little bit to block off any run from Sumner unintentionally. Gets back in the train there, but these guys are going to be very, very interesting once the leaders come around to him, because they are all fighting for position as this is getting dicey. Lou Christian gets all out of shape to try and lap Rafael Rodriguez there. James O'Brien and Pat Harvey do a great job of staying away from each other. But we almost wrecked 4 cars down the back straight there.
Well, and they're not done yet. There are a lot of cars that are still on their way, but they sorted out for now, and O'Brien says thank you very much as he goes by. Here's the replay of what Joey just saw coming off too.
There's Rodriguez up high, doing a good job of staying out of the way, but Lou Christian gets all sorts of out of shape. James O'Brien almost turns him, and Pat Harvey's in there for the ride as well. That is craziness off of turn 2. And that's not the last time we're going to see that. There's lap traffic all the way around this track. Tires are getting aged, and that's what caused that. It wasn't Rafael Rodriguez's fault. It was Lou Christian who just got a little bit loose on those very, very old tires.
Really nothing for him to do there. But they get it sorted out, and more importantly, we stay under green as O'Brien, you see, gets passed there by Pat Harvey. He has marched his way toward the front, +8 since the drop of the green flag. Now in P7.
It's been a sort of a quiet move forward for Pat Harvey. I don't know if I can say that when he's made contact to move his way forward, but it's still been a solid run. Josh Daniels has the fastest lap of the race and is having a very Josh Daniels race right now. Running in P4, sort of all on his lonesome. He's about to get some company in the form of Bruno Mello, but he's just been rock solid here in the top 4, and I really want one of these days to see something extremely impressive from Josh Daniels. I don't know if we have to wait until Martinsville next week or Talladega in a couple weeks, but he got 2 poles last season. He's been so strong. Unfortunately for Josh Daniels, it's always strong in 4th or 3rd or 5th. It's always consistency. It's never quite the race-winning speed, and I want to see that once more.
It's possible. Of course, we're off next week, Martinsville in 2 weeks, and then we are back after that for Talladega. The schedule right in line with the A Open class. As I'll get it right, A fixed, A open, they go to the same places, but obviously we're open here, so it makes sense to go with open instead of fixed. Nice battle here. This is the
Kibbe and Hoggard.
64 of, Hoggard and Kibbe.
Fresh tires for Chad Kibbe here, still working for him. It's a difference of about 19 laps here, so nobody could accuse of Chad Kibbe of being on fresh tires right now. He's on aged tires just as everybody else, but they're just slightly less aged. It's like a slightly more mild cheddar in the rubber of that car, and he has gotten to the inside of Joe Hoggard there. Easy move for him, and one more spot. Richard Regan Jr. will be in the top 10.
Skip Gandy is on the pit lane right now for tires for car number 8. We're at 90 to go here in this race, as we're approaching roughly estimated 35 minutes to go, which, Joey, that does not give us a lot of wiggle room, because the session would expire a little past 10 on the East Coast, and we're looking at a little past 10 on the East Coast.
Yeah, 38:40 to go. We're not allowed to do math in the booth here. That's not something commentators are allowed to do because it's always wrong, but laps at Richmond are 24 seconds long. That means you can get about 2.5 in a minute, so that's not math I'm able to do. I think we'll make it on time, but that's only assuming we don't have any more yellows.
Right. The pace I've got says about 35 minutes, but if we pile up a caution or 2 or 3, we may be racing instead to the timer, not to the tune of the lap counter. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Exactly. And the real question right now for all these drivers is, when do you come in? How long can you afford to wait? The likes of Acosta and Dinkel, they're inclined to wait for as long as humanly possible here. They don't want to get trapped a lap down. They don't want to throw away a race lead if the caution does come out. But like I said, for a lot of drivers at the back of the field, it's a risk to pit now. It's a risk to go multiple laps down, but you can make it to the end from here. You may get that undercut on Dinkel or Acosta. It might be your only way to make a challenge here.
That's the 3 of Basaw on pit road. We've seen him drop through the field. Jeff Chandler joins him, as well as Rafael Rodriguez. Rodriguez is already down a lap, but so far your leaders continue to stay out. Dinkel has opened it up, by the way. It's up to 1.5 seconds over Acosta. It was under 0.6 of a second some 10-15 laps ago. So Dinkel has really stretched out the lead over the last 10 or 15 laps in this run.
The lap traffic's been slightly kinder to him, which has been helpful, but he's also just been flat out faster than Acosta over the course of this run. There's Robert Besaw Jr. behind him. This is going to be an interesting experiment here because Besaw is going to be on fresh tires. Dinkel is on 74-lap-old tires right now, and you are going to visibly see here, off of turn 4, instantly, that's the effect that fresh tires have. These guys are going to be 2 seconds a lap faster than the race leaders on these fresh tires, and that's why some people are thinking about the undercut.
Maybe that'll be enough to tell Dinkel, all right, I should pit.
But if he pits, does Acosta follow him in? Does he refuse to come in? There's so many possible strategies here. What would make everything very easy is if a caution came out, but everything's strung out here. It's looking like that's not going to happen. Here comes Chad Kibbe. He was in the freshest tires of anybody, but he's elected to come down here with 80 laps to go. Going to go for an alternate strategy again. Worked for him on this last stint. Why not keep it going?
Well, and he really burned those tires up because his last lap was slower than Dinkel's by about 0.2. So he needed to come down and get some service, get some fresh tires, and try and survive.
This is always one of the most interesting dynamics here because it's reversed lap traffic. Abner Acosta is a lap ahead of those two guys who just passed him, Jose Medina and Robert Gamble, but they are still a lap down. They still have to give some respect to the race leader. There's only so much respect you can give, though. When you're 2 seconds a lap faster than the leaders, you're going to blow by them. So the leaders essentially become the lap cars at this point. They're just trying to preserve themselves. So here comes Luke Christian to the inside of Bruno Mello.
Here comes Regan to the pit lane. Taylor Stout will follow. So Richard Regan stops the bleeding and makes the call. He is coming to pit road. So will Joe Hoggard this time by. Hoggard now in the 10th position. He's got some traffic behind him, and he makes sure that they know he is pitting. He pulls it way down to the inside and gets onto the apron and almost comes back up into traffic and wipes him out, but he gets back down onto the apron and holds on and
almost
does
just
not...
had a Devlin DiFrancesco moment there.
Yeah, and he said, look, the car wouldn't stop. That's the reason I came back up, but everybody was prepared. Torgerson will come to the pit lane this time. He currently sits in the 10th spot. Still no call from your race leader.
Take a look at what happened to Hoggard here again. Just way too fast entering. He's lucky this isn't the rules we had at Atlanta last week or 2 weeks ago, because he would have got a penalty for that. No penalty for him. Does get it slowed down though. Troy Torgerson down pit road. Jeff Winter down pit road. The strategery has begun. What Dinkel and Acosta usually like to do, though, is extend it for as long as humanly possible. They know they have a pace advantage, and Torgerson blows up his box for good measure. But I don't expect Dinkel and Acosta to come in basically until the tanks run out.
Yeah, they're on lap 81 of their stint. Obviously, there have been some caution laps in there, so they can go a little bit longer. Here comes Hogg to the pit road. Car 89 drops down to the apron and gets out of harm's way. Josh Daniels is going to be pitting this lap. He is currently in third. Sounds like Acosta is making the call as well. Will Trent Dinkel make a call into turn number 3? The answer is yes. Here comes your race leader onto pit road.
And this is because Eric Hogg came in. Eric Hogg was only about 4 seconds behind our race leaders. He would have got that undercut in the space of 2 laps and taken the lead. So Dinkel and Acosta say, we're going to cover that off. We're going to hold on to our overall race lead. We're going to bring it down here. They are in danger, though, because look at who's staying out. Lou Christian, Bruno Mello, O'Brien, Jose Acosta. They're all hoping for a caution. They're all going to extend this for as long as possible. But Dinkel and Acosta have had enough. Comes a race on pit road now for them.
Smooth entry into the box for all 3. No worries about overshooting the pit boxes. We've seen that a couple of times already. Christian is in. Mello is in. O'Brien and Acosta stay out. They will be your race leaders. Dinkel is gone, and back up to speed he goes. He's got some folks that are in front of them that have already pitted. Amongst them, Basaw and some others. And look out.
Yeah, Robert Besaw Jr. on those fresh tires, getting his lap back from James O'Brien there, getting very aggressive in the process of doing so. But again, that's the differences in tire age is being shown off there. Here comes Luke Christian and Bruno Mello out now. The way the order is right now, I believe our overall leader will be Jay McDonald. He was the first driver to come in, so he's going to be the race leader.
For now, how about Dinkel, though? 3 wide around the outside to get his lap back off turn 4. He does get his lap back there from O'Brien. And O'Brien is a sitting duck right now on those older tires. Here comes Acosta around the outside, and whoa, look out!
Yeah, old Potatoes O'Brien, I think he's going to be thinking about coming in right now. He's just losing too much time on this strategy. Jose Acosta behind him coming in as well. They were trying to wait for a caution out front. It did not come, and James O'Brien, he's going to have fresher tires than everybody for the rest of the race, but he's lost so much time there that he might fall out of the top 10. He's going to have a lot of work to do in the final 70 laps of this race.
O'Brien wanted to pit earlier when he got dive bombed there by Basalt. That's when he wanted to pit. But the 3 sent it down on the inside instead, and that prevented O'Brien from getting to the pit lane. He had to wait another 2 laps before he finally got a clean lane to drop down and get onto pit road. Tristan Callahan is currently your race leader. He still has to make a pit stop. Jay McDonald is in second. He is 8/10 behind. Then it's Gandy, Basaw, Dinkel, your top 5, Acosta, Regan, Hogg, Daniels, Hoggard, your top 10 with 70 laps to go.
It's an interesting lasagna of tire ages up here up front. Jay McDonald, 31-lap old tires. Skip Gandy is on 10-lap younger tires than McDonald is. Then Besaw is on 5-lap younger tires than the 2 in front. And then Dinkel is on 10-lap younger tires than Besaw. So you just go back to find fresher and fresher tires. But Skip Gandy, 10-lap fresher tires than McDonald. You see the effects of it. He takes the lead.
Callahan's in, Gandy to the lead. So Skip Gandy out in front. Jay McDonald's is now second, as Gandy really just took the lead from McDonald. That's what 9-lap fresher tires can do. but don't look now. Here comes Dinkle. He is just 2.5 seconds back on Gandy, a 1.5 back on McDonald. Meanwhile, for fourth, Acosta and Basaw. That battle's pretty much done.
Yeah, these laps led are going to be awesome for Skip Gandy, but they're going to be very, very short-lived. So enjoy them while they last, because Dinkle and Acosta here on the freshest tires of anybody are going to blow by McDonald and Gandy unless there's a caution. If there's a caution within the next 2 laps or so, I think that's going to make the conversation very interesting, but it is not going to come most likely here. Here comes Trent Dinkle lapping a lapped car. Acosta getting a little bit more held up again. Yeah, this is going to be easy pickings for the two of them, and then it'll be Acosta versus Dinkle at the front of the field soon. Here comes Dinkle to the outside.
Around the outside, that is for second. And Jay McDonald, see you later.
Acosta's getting held up again. Acosta has just had terrible luck with the lap traffic. Every single time Dinkle makes it look easy, Acosta has a little bit more difficult of a time. He's so much closer than he was over the course of the long run. He's within touching distance of Dinkle, but he's got to be careful. He's got to be a little bit smarter with the lap traffic, I think.
He's just not having much luck out there trying to get to the 9. He may have a shot late in this race, depending on how things pan out. He had some speed. I mean, he was hanging in there with Dinkle until the very end of that run when the tires just proved too much. Skip Gandy out in front by a second over Dinkle, but Dinkle is closing fast. Half a second faster that last time by. Look a little further back. That's McDonald getting passed by a couple more cars here. And looking down at turn number 3, a little blocking. And so much for that. That was Daniels here. He'll get by McDonald.
Daniels gets by McDonald. You saw Hogg sneaking it to the inside there. We're getting very, very aggressive here with 60 laps to go. We were thinking about the time earlier, and with such aggressive racing, we might think it might not be the last time we see a caution. We heard our intrepid insider, whistleblower, whatever you want to call him, Nick Hunter, was saying Jose Medina's struggling a ton on the old tires. It's people on old tires and new tires who are struggling, but Trent Dinkle's not struggling at all. He takes the lead.
He will get away, and once again, Acosta has to sit behind Gandy. Peeks to the inside here into 3, and he will take over the second spot, just 0.4 behind Dinkle, with now 61 laps to go.
There's some big losers over the course of that pit cycle. Luke Christian, remember, he was up into the top 6. He has fallen back with his decision to stay out, but he is also on very fresh tires here as he gets to the inside of a lap car. Tom Amasi, that's not going to be for position, but the driver in front of him, Pat Harvey, is on similarly aged tires, and then Joe Hoggard ahead of them on 4-lap older tires. Bisa on 10-lap older tires. Christian may have lost time in the cycle, but he's got fresher tires than about anybody in the field right now.
And he wants to charge his way through the field, but that last time by, he did not quite have the speed to do that. Hoggard and Harvey in a battle here, nose to tail. Coming off turn 4, this is for the 8th position. 4-lap fresher tires for the 67 of Harvey.
A little bit tentative for Pat Harvey. Gets into the wall just a little bit off of turn 2. All of these guys have been having a little bit of trouble with depth perception, scraping the wall a little bit, but no harm, no foul there, as Harvey does get to the inside of Hoggard, who trips up a little bit off of 4. It's going to open the door wide open for him and for Luke Christian as well. Should be easy pickings here for Harvey, but Hoggard is holding very well on the outside. Gets into the wall again, though.
And here comes Christian to the inside, trying to get by Hoggard to try and make it work down there. Just about clear. And he gets it with the 27. Now, rather the 21, I can read. Into the 8th spot, he gets by Basaw as well here.
Bisaw's alternate strategy is really not paying off here. He didn't even get to lead a lap, so he's not even going to get the bonus point for that. And I mean, he's probably going to finish in about the same place he was anyway, in about the middle of the field, 16th, 17th, but sometimes the alternate strategies don't pay off. That's why they're risks.
Yeah, we saw him, but that's about it. He is falling back now as Hoggard gets by him for the 9th spot. Lap car right behind, that's Charles Sumner. He's the first car 1 lap down. If he were to get a caution, he would be the free pass as long as he is not involved in the crash. P4, Hogg and Gandy.
Hogg's going to clear Gandy. Richard Regan Jr. clears Gandy as well. So this is going to be an interesting battle here for P3. Regan on the oldest tires of anybody in this little cluster here of Daniels and Hogg. He struggled over the course of that last long run, was all over the place, was hemorrhaging time the entire time. Can he make it to the end? Has he figured out how to save tires again? Has he gotten back in the rhythm? Eric Hogg's certainly hoping he didn't, as Jay McDonald is coming into the pits again.
Could this
and Gandy
maybe
as well.
Could this maybe be early pitting, and this would be their last stops of the race?
Well, I think everybody's made their last stops of the race, but this is alternate for some of these SGE drivers. I think they're thinking we might be faster than the leaders. If Gandy can keep up a good race pace right now, Dinkel and Acosta are a second off the pace. Do the math with 52 laps left to go. If you could be a second a lap faster than Dinkel, you can repass him, but you got a lot of work to do.
Right, and that has to be consistent over the run as well.
Exactly.
It can't be a second faster than the leaders for the first 10 laps, and then that starts to go down, and then you've just fallen off and you're even. So a bold risk. Plus now you're using a set of tires that everybody else would eventually put on if they were to get a caution. Chaos going on. 3 wide, 4 wide. Heading into turn number 1 with Hogg. Trying to dodge lap traffic and catch Regan out in front of him.
There's about 3 different layers of lap traffic there, with Benton Jones getting out of the way. He's multiple laps down. Rodriguez is 1 lap down. There's absolute craziness there, as we'll catch a replay here. Jake was exactly right. It was 4 wide for a moment. They eventually resolved it, but it was just absolute insanity.
Caution. Joshua Daniels in trouble. Off turn 4. Involved with the lap car. It's 2 lap cars in total that kick this whole thing off. The lap traffic just too chaotic, and Daniels getting blocked. Watch here, the 23 of Rodrigo Morales blocks the lead lap car down in, and then he comes up and catches Benton Jones, and Benton Jones with a meatball flag after getting sandwiched into the outside wall by Daniels just trying to control that thing.
Unfortunately, putting the bent in Benton Jones there. Nothing he did wrong, but Josh Daniels and Rodrigo Morales tripping over each other. That has absolutely screwed Skip Gandy and Jay McDonald. They went off strategy, and that's the risk you take. So McDonald is trapped a lap down now, as is Gandy. And our race leaders get to come down to take their final set of fresh tires, most likely. And it'll be a little bit of a sprint to the finish now.
Do we stay green the rest of the way now that we're bunching everybody up inside 50 to go?
I mean, we know people are going to get aggressive on this restart. They know there's only a finite amount of time to go. They know they've got fresh tires. Passing has not been the easiest today if you're bad at saving. So, I don't know. It's possible. We'll see people getting aggressive either way. Hearing from our producer, there's 21 minutes to go. I saw it flash up on the clock there. I'm not going to do any math again, but 47 laps, 21 minutes. I don't know if we can make that.
We're about 3 to the good for now, but that number is going to shift here because I noticed that my projection clock is not moving. It is stuck at 1837. So we're going to be close. I'd imagine we'll do at least 2 more laps behind the pace car before we get the green flag. All right, now the clock is moving now that everybody's off pit road. So I think we're about 2.5 minutes to the good, roughly. But we get another caution or 2 and we could be in some trouble as far as making it all the way to the end of the race. Once again, Trent Dinkel, though, he is your race leader. He has led almost every single lap. Obviously, the green flag strategy shook things up and took him out of the lead for part of that green flag run. But he'll have Acosta right behind him, or right to his outside for the restart.
This is going to be a very interesting dynamic here on the restart because we've seen Dinkel and Acosta on the front row on every single restart so far tonight, and it's always been Acosta being the worst off of them all. He's had James O'Brien to his inside, who backed out because he was a teammate. He let Acosta get down. Eric Hogg tried to get aggressive and failed because he missed the last restart. But Richard Regan Jr. is going to start third now. He's going to start on the bottom behind Trent Dinkle. And you know that Richard Regan Jr. has no intention of letting Abner Acosta get down to the bottom. He is going to get incredibly aggressive. And that's almost a death sentence for Abner Acosta. He needs to organize with his teammate to make sure he can get a good restart here and make sure Richard Regan Jr. doesn't break up this private label team hype party.
This our 5th caution flag of the race. It's been pretty solid. We've had, you know, some contact here and there, but we've had our green flag runs, and perhaps the days of the green flag runs are over in these final 45 laps.
Rack them up here. You can feel this is going to be a pretty intense restart here. We've got the 3 best drivers in the field. I think we can say that much up here up front. Unfortunately, what I just realized, or what I failed to mention for the first hour of this race, is our championship leader, Matthew Long, our defending champion, not here this week. He's going to have to take this as a drop week if he wants to keep his championship hopes alive.
And he will. Shuffle up the points a little bit. No big deal. Pace cars in. Dinkle and Acosta on the front row. Green flag with 44 laps to go.
And it is a good restart from Richard Regan Jr. here. He's going to have the inside into 1. Acosta's going to try and sweep it around the outside, but he does not have a friend on the inside. He has a bitter rival, and Richard Regan Jr. is going to fight him into turn 3.
Down on the inside is Regan. Acosta on the outside. And right now, Dinkle grinning ear to ear, loving the fact that they're side by side behind him. He just hopes that the rest of the field can keep it green. And Acosta driving it in deep on the high side. Clear for the moment. It's Mello side by side with Hogg for 5th.
That's going to be very good news for Pat Harvey. He's going to be able to pull away a little bit, but these two fighting over P5. Mello trying to squeeze down as low as he possibly can. But Eric Hogg has Hogg was doing the squeezing. Mello on the inside. The 2 black and white cars identical in zebra formation here off of turn 2, and they're still stuck together.
Still side by side, like a cat on Velcro back here for the 5th spot. Luke Christian is there as well, looking to the inside, trying to advance his way through the field. He's shown some speed throughout the race tonight. And up the hill goes Hogg, and that will allow Mello to be clear, and here comes Christian down on the bottom.
Pain will not end anytime soon for Eric Hogg. He was making the outside work with Mello, but he's not going to be able to make the outside work for very long. Luke Christian now to his inside. Joe Hoggard's going to come up in the train next. Taylor Stout, James O'Brien. Eric Hogg needs to find a way to get down. He needs to do it quick.
Still side by side. You've got Hogger right behind. Rather, Hoggard. Forgot the D on the end. He's right behind this battle. Another one back there. That's James O'Brien trying to claw his way back up toward the front. Remember, he started from the 3rd position, but he fell back early and has had a hard time trying to claw his way back up toward the front. Hogg and nope, that's Christian side by side, still off turn 2.
Nobody can decide where they want to be on track right now. It's just constant shuffling here between these guys. Still on the outside, Hogg squeezing as best he can, but it is just not working for him. He cannot get the advantage on Luke Christian on the bottom there. Into turn 1 again. Christian definitely seems faster, but if anything, he's getting checked up by this train here. Nobody's pushing all out up front, and Christian can't get the run, and that's going to allow Hogg to clear him. Oh, but he misses the corner.
He drove it in too deep, and Christian would have run him over. Hogg up the hill, loses another spot. Here comes Hoggard to the inside now, looking for 7th.
He had such a gift there. He was able to get to the inside, and I don't think he was ready to be down there because he just completely missed the corner, and his struggle continues here with Joe Hoggard to his inside. Is he going to back out of it to get down in line? No, he's not. He's going to keep trying to make the outside work. I don't know how long that's going to work for him, though. Down the front straight, he's got a nose ahead of Hoggard, and he does clear him.
Can he save it? Yes. Can he get down in front of O'Brien? No. Maybe. O'Brien lifts, lets him in line. Here comes Jose Acosta down on the bottom. They sort it out, but Hogg About cost it all right there going into turn one that last time.
He was not clear there. He was desperately trying to get down to the bottom. I think he was clear for about a millisecond, but Hoggard was closing, and I'm just amazed they both saved that.
Props to both drivers for hanging on to the race cars and keeping us green now with 35 laps to go. Here's the replay.
I'm very excited to take a look at this again. Look at that, just a four-wheel drift coming into turn one. Hogg was lucky he had Hoggard to keep him straight there, but that is absolute insanity, and that is the aggression we expected to see on this short run to the end. Hogg on the outside, Hoggard on the inside. He's like an inch clear, but not quite there. Hoggard gets into him, and look at this for a four-wheel drift. Slow motion replay from our producer, Connery Maddock.
I still can't believe that he was able to hold on to that race car and then not chop down in front of O'Brien there. Of course, he lifted to kind of give him some space, but they all sorted out. Dinkel is out in front by 3.5 tenths over Acosta. Regan is third, Harvey fourth, Mello is fifth. Then Christian, Hoggard, Hogg, O'Brien, Jose Acosta. And he's got pressure from behind. Taylor Stout. And here comes Robert Bassett Jr. on the bottom.
Bassett was actually very much helped by that caution. He was off strategy. He was struggling on those tires, was just going to flail around until the end, but he got equaled out with everybody when that caution came out, and he is a little bit higher than he would have been otherwise. In the top dozen here, putting the fight to Taylor Stout, rather. Doing a solid job here, but look a little bit further back. Joshua Daniels in that Dirt Devil entry, bright red nose, always visible on track, and he's moving his way forward after bringing that caution out.
Side by side off the corner is that 77. He's at least made it back up to 15th. But you're right, as you mentioned, after bringing out the caution, he's still got a long way to go. Get back to where he was up inside the top 5 throughout the strategy.
Pat Harvey versus Richard Regan Jr. here for third. Acosta and Dinkel are starting to pull away just a little bit. It's not by much. Regan's still sticking with them, but you can see that Regan doesn't quite have the speed here. Last season, at the end of last season, Pat Harvey had done some incredible tire saving, had some incredible results, really turned things around, and he's putting pressure on Richard Regan Jr. here, who again is normally so good at saving the tires over the course of the long run. Looks like he is holding up this train a little bit, though.
Right on board, out the back window of Regan. Trying to do the best he can to come home with a top 3 finish. He closed in on just 25 laps to go.
If you didn't know who that was in the Zoom, you might just think that's IndyCar driver Callum Ilott in VR. But Richard Regan Jr. not quite Callum. But once we get to Texas Motor Speedway a little bit later, we'll see if he can live up to the top 10.
And we'll be there in May. While the Cup Series is doing their All-Star race at North Wilkesboro, A-Open heads to Texas Motor Speedway. But we'll be there in just a little while. Remember, an off week next week for the Easter holiday. Then we're back from Martinsville. Then we visit Talladega. And the schedule will continue to roll along, pretty much identical to the NASCAR schedule until, as I mentioned, we get to Texas instead of Wilkesboro, and then the season ends Memorial Day weekend with Charlotte.
It's going to be some crazy stuff for the next couple of weeks. Martinsville and Talladega back to back. I mean, crazy for very different reasons. Martinsville tends to be a little bit of a war zone. It tends to be a race of survival and just making sure you're not getting into people or getting people punting you yourself. And then Talladega, that speaks for itself. It's a crapshoot. Anybody can win. We're going to break out the random number generators to see who's going to get it. And as always, Talladega and Daytona, they always deliver in this series.
They always do, especially with these cars. Something about these cars, it just makes it so special. Lap traffic, once again, a factor you saw there. Trying to get through the lapped car And it has the potential here in these final 23 laps, 22 laps now, to have an impact here on Dinkel if Acosta saved enough tire.
It does. There's a little bit of pool back here, a little bit of snooker as guys are bouncing into each other like pool balls. Robert Besaw Jr. and Winter got into each other down the back straight. Little bit of argy-bargy. Besaw in the wall. Did they come together again into 3? They didn't, but Besaw just got walled there.
Sorting out for now. This is live. They're still side by side. As Dinkel approaches the lapped car of Callahan. With 20 to go, he's blinking in front of the leaders. That could have been very dangerous. He's still up on the outside. Acosta clears. And this will be interesting to see how the lead lap cars navigate him, especially since he's trapped up on the outside. He can't park it because folks are there.
Yeah, poor old Tristan has been unfortunate. Oh, you see him clear up a big cloud of smoke there with one of the blinks. That's just one of the realities of sim racing, unfortunately. There's technical problems in the real world. Your engine can blow. Unfortunately, there's technical problems with the power of the internet as well, and with the storms that have hit across the country. I think a lot of people's internet is struggling. There's been a lot of lines taken down, and poor old Tristan Callahan has been made ghost mode a couple of times tonight.
Now, I have a theory here, only because I heard him talk about this over the radio in sim earlier. I wonder if it's less an internet issue and more of a RAM issue and a CPU issue, and here's why. I heard him say that he had ordered RAM last week, 2 weeks ago, and it still hadn't come in yet. More RAM for his computer. In iRacing, you need 16 gig of RAM at least in order for the sim to run smoothly. If you run lower than that, which at one point on an older computer I did pretty recently, where I was only running with 8, it was pretty rough. And when there was too much on the racetrack, especially with these next gens, with how high-powered they are, once you get them close together, it taxes your system pretty good. And if you don't have a system that's up to standard, your car has the chance to blink because your sim cannot handle the cars on the racetrack. And I wonder if that's what's happening with Callahan, where once cars catch him, his computer just can't handle it, and that's why he starts to blink.
It is pretty ironic, then, that he got rammed earlier by Jose Medina when he was blinking out. I like how you just
Put the ball on the tee. Oh, yeah.
Delivered a great technical analysis there. You're talking about legitimate PC stuff, and I bring it down.
Perfect. Nope, perfect. Oh, and they're still telling him to get off the track here. We're at 14 laps to go. Dinkel has opened this lead up to over 0.8 of a second. And barring another yellow, this battle at the front may be over.
Remember what happened between these two last time they were together down the front straight here with the four-wheel drift from Eric Hogg. They found each other again. Eric is going to want to get very, very aggressive here off of turn 2. Seems a little bit quicker than Joe Hoggard. Can't quite get the run off of 2, though. Can't send it into 3, but there is definitely a pace difference here. I think Eric Hogg or Haig is definitely the quicker of the 2 here, but Joe Hoggard is going to make that number 64 as wide as humanly possible.
Man, Tristan Callahan almost dropped it in front of the field trying to pit that last time by. He missed pit road, almost turned back up into traffic. He made it to pit road safely this time, so no harm there. Meanwhile, your leader takes 11 laps to go. There you see Hoggard for 7th. Trying to hold off Hogg in these final 11 laps. Got O'Brien right there as well, trying to claw his way toward a nice finish tonight.
You know, Brian should have been in the conversation for the top 3 here, but that decision to pit very, very late and hope for a caution did not pay off for him. He's kind of slotted into the back of the field in the deep teens. He's finally made his way back up into the top 10, and he's got a little bit more progress to make. The battle for the lead is not happening. It's become a battle for second here as Richard Regan Jr. has finally figured this thing out. He's putting all sorts of pressure on Abner Acosta for second.
That's allowing Dinkel to just pull away inside 10 to go. The gap almost a second and a half. You're right on board with Regan as he is all over the back bumper of car number 5.
Going for the switchback here off of 2. He's going to get to the inside to 3 if he wants it. He's got a nose to the inside, and Acosta knows that Regan is the faster of the 2 now. Side by side through 3 and 4. There's going to be Tom Macy up ahead who might check up Acosta on the outside. These guys have to be careful not to fight side by side for too long because you can see the gap up to Dinkel continuing to expand.
Regan's got to keep it down there. 3 wide with the lap car off turn 2. They sort it out. Coming to 7 to go, and Regan clear for second.
Has the Dirty South Racing driver finally figured things out here? It's a big gap to make up over the course of 8 laps, but one little bobble in traffic could make or break this for Trent Dinkel. 7 laps to go. He can be comfortable right now, but can't be too comfortable. Richard Regan Jr. is coming.
See if you can put together some solid lap times. We're coming to 6 laps to go. That last time by Regan, a 10th quicker. This time, less than that, only about half a 10th. Caution! Hit Hogg and Hoggard. Oh! These guys were battling inside the top 10. There was contact there involving James O'Brien. And it's the 2 Hogg guys that go around.
Now, do we have time to get back to a restart is the question, but first and foremost, let's see how they came together. They came together once. They weren't able to save it this time here into 3 and 4. I think there was a little bit of push there from James O'Brien. I don't think Haig intended to really dump Hoggard like that. He just got a little bit of a push.
Well, and Hogg's not happy either way with Hoggard, and O'Brien apologized, saying he couldn't stop, but Hogg was frustrated because he says Hoggard was cutting his nose off every lap, getting into the corners. There you see the clock in the corner that is counting down. And you can't pit here, right? Okay,
no.
There we go. I'm like, there's no way.
Far
you
too much risk.
Defies logic, just in case we can't go back green. We do have 1 overtime attempt if we need it, but I don't think we are.
Yeah, we won't get it if the clock runs out, but the question is here.
Correct.
This is exactly the situation that happened on Wednesday night in the Truck Series. If the clock runs out and it's within about a minute or so, the question is, will it... It's impossible to explain because we can never predict this. This somehow manages to happen all the time where it's just in that window of, will we get a 1-lap restart to go? Will the race end under caution? It comes down to seconds. It comes down to the length of the caution laps. Basically, all we can do is wait for the white flag to come out, and then we'll have our answer because there's no way to predict these things at the end of the race.
We're coming to 3 to go now. I think we are going to go into overtime by a lap. Unless the lights go out here, which they do not. So we are going to go 1 lap into overtime. At least. This is our lone attempt at the green-white checker. So this race will end no matter what. I'm projecting 55 seconds left in this race, which tells me... I don't know what that tells me.
Laps under caution are 52 seconds long. We had about 1 minute 44 on the clock, so... It's going to be very, very close here. We should get 1 to go at the line here, and if we have the clock up, if there's more than 30 seconds, we should get a 1-lap restart to the finish.
Well, I think we are going to get 1 lap here, and that's going to be it, because minute 10 here will come across the line. We will get 1 to go. 1 minute as they cross the line. So officially in overtime, lights stay on.
Oh, no.
This race is over.
Or is it? Because the problem is, lap times around here are 24 seconds long normally. iRacing doesn't take into consideration the length of pace laps. So if you cross the line with 30 seconds to go or so, even if the clock runs out on that final lap, because iRacing expects the lap to be 24 seconds long, you'll still get the white flag. So it's a mathematical quandary here. We're going to cross the line here to get 1 to go technically, but there's only going to be about 5 seconds on the clock, so I don't think we will get a restart here, but we might.
At the line, 8 seconds.
I think that's it. Yeah, clock is going to run out on this lap. Final lap, white flags in the air. This is it.
Right.
They'll get a dash to the finish, basically. So once the pace car pulls off, Trent Dinkle can go as fast as he wants, but there's not going to be any change for position. I think Trent Dinkle's won this race.
Yeah, so they're going to freeze the field, and Trent Dinkle is going to go back-to-back and go 2 for 3 to start the second season, of the PRL Cup Series. Into the restart zone, green and checkers. Here at Richmond, Trent Dinkle, your winner.
It's a little bit like the F1 race at Albert Park at the end there. Now, don't be alarmed, because once the race results come up, you're most likely going to see Trent Dinkle and Richard Regan Jr. penalized for that, but that'll be reversed by the PRL in the official race results. So Abner Acosta has not magically won this race, so don't be alarmed if the results are a little bit funky after that, because that's what always happens when we have these races end under caution.
I'm not sure. That might have been the last lap. I don't know. I really don't. I think they still had a lap when they got to the line and took the green flag, so it made them race back around to the checkered.
I don't think they did, because the checkered flag was out when they crossed the line. So
well, I say that, and so my live stats, they did not cross the line on the average pace until that last time by. So I don't know what that means.
I don't know how this always happens. With these time-limited races, somehow we always manage to have the most confusing possible finishes. But results are official either way. Trent Dinkle is guaranteed to be the winner, and we'll sort everything else out eventually.
Yeah, something is goofy. I just pulled up the iRacing scoring. Trent Dinkle on the lead lap. Everybody else is a lap down. So what happened is it threw the checkered flag after Dinkle crossed the line. So Dinkle had to go around, do another lap. Everybody else crossed the start-finish line behind Dinkle, so it scored everybody a lap down. It's incorrect. It'll get fixed. Either way, the positions are correct.
We couldn't make your life easy in your PRL debut, Jake.
Hey, these things happen. Trent Dinkle is your winner, and we will talk with him in just a moment. Your finishing results, of course, it says a lap down. That's not right. It really, we finished under caution. Dinkle, your winner. Regan in second. Acosta finishes third. Pat Harvey fourth. Bruno Mello in fifth. Luke Christian in 6th, James O'Brien 7th, Jose Acosta 8th, Jeff Winter in 9th, and Troy Torgerson rounding out the top 10.
And poor old Taylor Stout for Dirty South Racing, seemingly in 11th place all night there ahead of Robert Gamble. Jose the Funky Cole Medina and Joshua Daniels for Love Racing, 13th and 14th. Skip Gandy got screwed over by that caution. Robert Bissaw Jr. tried to go off strategy all day. Chad Kibbe was notable with some of his strategy antics as well. And then Sumner Chandler and Eric Haag or Hag finishes P20.
I know who you are. He finishes 20th. Hoggard finishes 21st. Of course, those are the two that got together to bring out the caution and kick this whole thing off. McDonald finishes 22nd. Then Ken Alond, Rodrigo Morales, Rafael Rodriguez, Tama Macy, Rusty Robinson, Tristan Callahan out of the race, along with Benton Jones, Eric Staropoli, and finishing shotgun on the field tonight in 31st, Richard Pruitt. He only made it 12 laps. Wow.
Well.
That was something. Let's talk with our race winner here, if we can, in Trent Dinkle. And wow. Trent, obviously that was an interesting way to finish that race, but nonetheless, a strong car all race long. You look like you really were the class of the field tonight.
Yeah, I mean, the setup this week was, to be honest, the best I think I felt since we went to Open. And oddly enough, I didn't even do a single official race. And this morning was the first time I did more than 20 laps. and I mean, I'm glad I did because we had to switch sets because the other one would just die after like 30 laps. So, I'm glad that we had a good finish. Kind of sad Abner couldn't hang on at the end. I mean, obviously we were on the same stuff, but for whatever reason, he was just getting a little. I don't know if he was overdriving it or just driving it different than me, but yeah, I mean, usually I don't like Richmond, and I'm not good at Richmond, and I was liking it, and I was good, so it was a good change.
Looking ahead, we get a week off for Easter, and then we come back and we go to Martinsville, back to the short track, perhaps the hardest track on the schedule as far as getting green flag runs. Your thoughts going into it?
I mean, this league is always goofy with that because, like, sometimes we'll go to Martinsville and we'll run 3/4 of the race without a caution. So, last time we were there, granted it was fixed. We dominated, me and Abner and Josh Conquer at the time. We dominated Martinsville. So I'm hoping that we can do that with the open setups. I'm sure Matt will be back hopefully, and we'll be battling him. I'm kind of disappointed he wasn't here tonight. I wanted to see how we would have held up against him because that guy's just stupid good and they're stupid fast. But I'm glad that it was a good win for Team Hype and Private Label, and Abner finished good. James finished pretty good. He got a little messed up on the start, but it was a good night.
Trent, congratulations back to back here in PRL, and we will see you in 2 weeks' time from Martinsville. Best of luck.
Sounds good. Thank you.
That is Trent Dinkle coming home in first tonight. We'll get a word with our second place finisher here. That was Richard Regan Jr. here with Joey.
Indeed, we will. Richmond Regan Jr., for all the struggles you were having in the middle of the stint there, still a second place to come out of that. How did you get over that middle stint?
Just put your head down and drive the car. I didn't really get a lot of practice in this week in the Cup car, so I practiced a little bit after Wednesday night, but I wasn't home until about half hour before the race started. So trying to get a feel for the setup, trying to tweak it a little bit to what I wanted. I was struggling all night really to get the car to rotate in the center and then get drive off, and I was making changes early and it'd help it. And then we got that first long run, and it was not good on the long run with those changes. So I ended up dropping back really, I don't know, like 10th or 11th. And car started coming in on that green flag pit stop. And yeah, just can't thank the boys at Dirty South for all the hard work this week.
Your Xfinity Series sparring partner Nick Hunter, who's here with us, giving us insider information. He says you look tired a bit. Are you going to take that kind of insult? You got to fire back at him.
I look tired. Well, I've been up since like 7 in the morning working on the real race car, so I am tired. But no, I won't take it as an insult.
See, Richard Regan Jr. fighting back from 7 a.m. and old Nick Hunter, he's just sitting here in the booth with us. So who's the real winner here? But congrats on second place, Richard, and we'll see you on Wednesday night.
Yep, thank you. I got to give a shout out to Multiple Sclerosis Society, Neonism Paints. You need a paint, go to facebook.com/neonism. Tell them PRL sent you. Everyone at Regan Bogue Motorsports and Dirty South Racing. It's unfortunate that Matt had a tree come down and take out his internet last night, so he couldn't race. But stroke awareness, everybody at the PRL, and you guys at RaceSpot.
Never liked the weather, but Richard Regan Jr., second place finisher, and hopefully Matthew Long has that tree removed before too long, and he'll be back with us in 2 weeks' time. It looks like we got the tire wizard himself, Abner Acosta, finished third, and he gets to talk to Jacob Hitz.
And whether or not you like it, Mother Nature always wins, right? Abner Acosta coming home in third tonight, and perhaps the second strongest car in the field, holding strong with Dinkle throughout the race, especially early in the runs. Do you think you really had anything for car number 9?
Hey guys, good evening. No, definitely not in long runs. Trent was doing a way better job than me on tires. It would have been something like I would have just have to get him early run, but we, the whole race we were trying to work together and kind of like maintain the field. So definitely long run did not have anything for him at all.
Looking ahead to 2 weeks' time, another short track. We go to Martinsville. It's not necessarily known for clean and caution-free racing, but we could see a similar race to tonight.
I think I'm fairly strong in Martinsville. It's all gonna be a matter of how many cautions we get. It could be either like a really clean race or a caution fest. So I hope we get some good long green flag runs. But I think we'll see the usual people on the front, like Trent, me, and Richard.
Well, Abner, congratulations on the top 3, and of course, we will see you in 2 weeks' time from Martinsville. Best of luck.
All right, thank you. Have a good night.
That is Abner Acosta coming home in P3. I believe we're going to call an audible, and we're going to talk with Pat Harvey here, who stormed through the field plus 11 from the start of the race, finishing P4, and he's here with Joey.
Indeed, we will. One more driver, P4, Pat Harvey. I believe our biggest mover. I don't know if we have the numbers on that, but seemed like it was a disappointing qualifying. What changed for you in the race? How'd you move your way forward so well?
Oh, that's awesome. I didn't know I was the biggest mover.
I think second biggest mover technically, but we'll ignore that. We'll ignore reality. We'll just say you were the biggest mover.
That's close enough for me. Yeah, I didn't practice. Again, I didn't practice qualifying. You should probably do that. But I felt like we had a good long run car, and we didn't get too many real long runs, but I guess long enough that I was just slowly picking them off. I think I do owe somebody an apology. I got into somebody's rear end, so I need to holler at somebody and say sorry. But yeah, we had, I think, just good pace, saving tires, that sort of thing.
So yeah, next time out, another short track, Martinsville, after a short break. Do you think that might be the place where Pat Harvey finally returns to victory lane?
I'd like to think so. I haven't had much luck there, but it's fun. I like the short tracks, so maybe that'll be the one.
Well, we're always happy to see that toothpaste teal paint scheme on the grid. Always easy to pick out, and congrats on P4.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate you guys.
Pat Harvey, P4 tonight, really finding his feet on the short tracks lately, and I think that's about it for us here tonight, Jake. Unless you want to talk to Lou Christian, it's up to you, or we can get out of here.
I think, I feel bad when somebody shows up and they think they're going to get it. Let's talk with Lou Christian. He finished, I think, P6 tonight. If based off of if scoring is correct, it might be 5th. Correct results will be posted in its time. But Lou coming home P6 tonight. Strong car, mid-pack, and you were starting to show some strength there down the stretch.
Yeah, so I think correct score will put me back to 5th, so it should be a top 5 for me and Pat Harvey and SGE Sports Pioneer. But I just want to say thank you guys, and Vico, RaceSpot, you guys did an awesome job, so appreciate that.
I would ask you about Martinsville, but I think Joey would appreciate more if I asked about the, as he called it, the world's shortest staircase behind you.
Here we go.
Yeah, what's changed back there? What are those cages?
They're sconces. I'm too lazy to put them on. Let's not bring that up in front of my wife, though. I got to put them on the wall. Where you guys want them? Maybe like one right here, one over there.
I mean, I didn't even know what a sconce was.
It's
right?
like okay. All right. Scratch it then. I just wanted to say thank you. Y'all do a great job on the broadcast. I love watching it back on Mondays, and shout out to everybody. Shout out Bow and Bootwear. If you guys want any custom boots here in Nashville, that's a place to get them. Bow and Bootwear on Instagram.
All right, Lou. Thanks for your time. Best of luck in 2 weeks at Martinsville.
Thank you.
That is Lou Christian coming home somewhere in the top 10, maybe 5th, maybe 6th. It's been that kind of night. Well, Joey, we made it. Nobody got hurt. Broadcast 1, I think we can consider a success, maybe.
I think so. I mean, you were introduced to the magic of a oval race ending on time and trying to figure out if the race is going to actually end or if there's another lap. That's always fun. I learned what a sconce is. It's a learning experience every week in the PRL, and we learned once again that Trent Dinkle is as good as he's ever been. After a bad season last season, he's back to his old ways, and he's going to be a championship contender.
You always learn something when you come to RaceSpotTV, no matter what the league is. And when we come back in 2 weeks' time with PRL for the Cup Series, we'll learn a lot about the pace car because we're going to Martinsville. You will see that right here, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, in 2 weeks' time. We're off for Easter next week. We see you from Martinsville in 2 weeks. We'll see Trent Dinkle then as well. He was the top dog today. Coming home, your winner from Richmond. For Nick Hunter, the quiet man up in the broadcast booth, our statistician, if you will, for Connery Maddock, our producer, for Joey Tappan alongside me, I'm Jacob Pitts. Thank you so much for watching here on RaceSpotTV. We'll see you in 2 weeks from the Paperclip.